Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap CEOs after they put out big news. And today's news, guys, that we're talking about is massive. You're going to hear about in a second. With us today from Avalon Advanced Materials is President CEO Don Bubar. The company trades in Canada, the stock symbol AVL. For our friends in the US, and the stock symbol AVLNF. For those of you new to the story, but you saw this big lithium battery materials refinery news, here's what you need to know about Avalon. They own a diverse critical metals and minerals property portfolio that gives investors exposure to the rare earth elements, lithium, tin, indium, cesium, and tantalum, amongst others. They're not a Johnny come lately. They're developing these critical mineral properties since the mid-1980s, when Don Bubar himself first acquired the Separation Rapids Lithium Project for its industrial mineral potential for glass ceramics. And more than just lip service, Separation Rapids, which is in northwestern Ontario, a great place to be, hosts the world's largest undeveloped known resource of the rare lithium mineral petalite. It's unbelievable how big this is. We're going to talk about that. Right now, it's been lined up as potential to serve the glass ceramics market, which a lot of people don't know about. The global glass industry represents about 25 to 30% of global lithium demand and is valued over $100 billion and continues to grow thanks to the unique properties of lithium for strengthening glass. However, the company is also looking at the possibility of producing high purity lithium for lithium ion batteries. And the press release from a couple of days ago probably makes the timing perfect. Here's a headline. Avalon announces partnership agreement to establish Ontario's first regional lithium battery materials refinery in Thunder Bay. Don, welcome to the show, my friend.
Great to be back, George.
Great to have you. And I got to tell you from the bottom of my heart, because I've known you for close to 20 years now, congratulations on this news. It is big. Before we get into the details of it, I want people at home to really understand how big this is. It's massive for Avalon. It's really big for the lithium industry. And it's really big for Ontario's, critical elements supply chain plans as well. Give us a sense of how big this is, because I've never seen anything like this before.
Well, it's big because all of a sudden everybody knows you need lithium if we're going to make this transition to this clean, green economy and rely on energy storage solutions, which the lithium ion battery still is the best technology. So we've got to create a supply chain. And we started seeing the potential for lithium 25 years ago. Took a long time to be able to find the opportunity to actually start production, but that's finally happened now, thanks to recent initiatives by the government of Ontario to try to attract the manufacturing sector to come back to Ontario, including battery manufacturing. And they are promising those manufacturers that they'll support getting the critical material supply chain started in Ontario. And it's about time. We've got them all on the ground. It's about time we started to produce them and turn them into the products needed in many new technologies.
And usually when companies talk about, electric vehicles, lithium ion battery, or George Com Lithium says, oh, we've acquired this lithium project and we think we're going to be able to supply the lithium ion battery market if everything goes well 5-7 years from now or something like that. But you're not just announcing a project, you're announcing a supply chain, right? Soup to nuts. So talk to us about that so we can all visualize at home, and then we're going to talk about SR Group in a second, but what are you guys doing here in establishing this Ontario's first materials refinery?
Well, basically, we've been able to recognize for a long time that that's the key step, is being able to create the processing capacity midstream to turn it into the derivative product that's being used in the market. But the missing piece has been the lack of any domestic demand for a specific lithium battery material product until fairly recently. So you couldn't just guess on that. You had to basically have firm commitments from buyers to give you an indication of what it exactly is you got to produce, how to produce it efficiently, and then design the facility appropriately. So not having the firm offtake commitment was always the challenge on being able to get a commitment on accessing the capital to build the appropriate midstream processing capacity.
Yeah, and so what's changed? I mean, who's the offtake partner? What's changed that finally put all the pieces together for you guys and SR Group to be able to announce this and start moving together on it?
Well, basically, demand now is starting to grow. And as most people are hearing, lithium is in short supply. China was smart and got control of a lot of the supply early on. And now there's some manufacturers getting established in other parts of the world, as well as here in North America, that are all looking for supply sources of the refined forms, lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide. So it's just a matter of time before we got those commitments. And now we have lots of interest on getting access to our production of these materials. But the key next step was to find an investing partner, because as a small cap, these are very challenging because of the very high capital costs associated with building them. So we've been looking for an investing partner, and we were introduced to this SR Group by Invest in Canada, an agency that does that, introduces international companies to potential investment opportunities in Canada. And that was about 6 months ago. It took a little while to get there, thanks to the pandemic, but finally got there. And
well, this is pretty fast. 6 months. You know, a small cap company, George Com Lithium, could start talking to a major conglomerate and take years sometimes to even think about it. And here in 6 months, let's talk a little bit about SR. I mean, like you said, the CapEx on this project is big. It's $500 million, not something you could probably handle on your own. SR Group comes to the table with assets under management of over $8 billion US. That's as of March 2021. You know, what is it they saw? What they must have their pick of opportunities. What did they see in Avalon? What did they see in this opportunity that said, yeah, we want to partner 50-50 on this?
Well, there's not that many opportunities out there that haven't already been claimed by other potential investing partners. So we've basically were one of the few that was sort of ready to go, but still needed a partner. So that was, I think, one of the attractions. And I think they, because they've had a presence in Ontario in the past through Algoma Power, Algoma Steel, they know Ontario, they've got a presence here. And so being able to kind of pick up where they left off there and create this whole new sector, partnering with us, I think appealed to them, especially since they're also trying to transition into this new clean green economy as well, from having been a traditional miner of coal and producer of energy by burning coal.
I know it's only been a couple of days since you put out the news, but you know, it was so big that I was scrolling across the ticker of CNBC actually. And I saw that happen. Like, look at Don, he's made it to the ticker of CNBC. Have you received any kind of feedback from the industry, from the demand side, or from other lithium potential? Because I know this refinery is going to allow other new producers to potentially provide feed as well. But what kind of feedback, if any, have you heard from the industry as to how great this is?
Not a lot yet, but we have now been getting confirmation from other buyers of the product that they're excited to hear that we're now firm on timing for going ahead. But we haven't yet had a whole lot of communication with other potential producers in Ontario, but we know there are a lot. So we'll keep the news flow coming as we start to advance the project, and we'll take it from there. But
you're saying the buyers, the demand side, have already shown some, and that's probably the most important thing, right? You've got to make sure you got the buyers. Someone's going to buy product come out of as lithium refinery. You're getting good response out of them, Don. Yeah, of course, you always got to prove that you can meet their spec requirements, because there's often very specific requirements there. But we're pretty sure we can. So this is a $500 million project. How are you guys going to finance this? I know SR Group is big and probably has a big pocket. Run us through how this might be funded.
Well, basically, they would be sort of the lead order in terms of
Right.
the funding. And then I think with that lead order, it will open the door for us to find other sources of capital, including government funding, which they've been providing to these other manufacturers. And now we've saw the announcement it's going to be in the budget there tomorrow, federal budget, that they're going to allocate $2 billion for critical material supply chains. So I'm sure that we'll be able to access funding from these new government programs that have been set up to support creating these new supply chains specifically. And then there are other investors out there that have expressed interest too, that will be happy to jump in once we show where we're at, how long it's going to take, and what their position might be.
Well, if you got SR Group as a lead order, you got government jumping in, First Nations, I think in the press release said might also be jumping in. At that point, it doesn't seem like you're too worried about being able to raise the, to get to that $500 million number.
No, I'm not worried about it at all.
Oh, that's great.
And there's also the ESG investment community that loves this sector too.
So if everything, Don, give us a timeline. I know you said 2025. That's when you'd like to be up and running, but what happens between now and 2025? And I'm not asking for an exact timeline because you probably don't have that down yet, but ballpark, when do you think the raise finishes? When do you guys maybe you got to get approval from government? Kind of run us through what the cadence looks like to get up and running.
Well, basically the next steps are to finalize the specifics on the business model there, feasibility level study, and then finalize the location, and then start to find the contractors that can initiate construction work and go from there. But there's lots of interest in Thunder Bay now too, so I'm sure that it won't be problematic. It's just finalizing the details and then getting construction started, while we also start getting things going at our Separation Rapids Lithium Project site.
Because let's talk about that for a second. Separation Rapids, I've known that project for a long time. It's this big sleeping giant, but that'll be the lead, the lead feed for this new refinery, correct?
Yeah, that's our vision. Is we've got a fairly significant resource there that can get the ball rolling in terms of the initial supply for the refinery until other resources come in behind it with additional supply. But we also have other markets for the product, as you know, including the glass ceramics market. As you mentioned earlier, it's actually been growing a lot.
And most people don't know that. Most people don't. I got to tell you, Don, even though I've known about the glass ceramic side, I didn't realize that was 25 to 30% of lithium demand around the world. That's massive.
Yeah, it's been growing because there's a lot of innovation now on other variants on high strength glass products and other applications for them. And I can see how they might be important in electric vehicle technology as part of light weighting going forward for the windshields and the dashboard, etc.
Yeah, for anybody at the beginning who thought glass ceramics, they're thinking maybe dinner glasses and their dishes. The applications are way beyond that. What I want to ask you now is the timing seems to be great. March 18th is when Ontario came out with their first ever critical mineral strategy. That was just 3 weeks ago. And the quote from Doug Ford is that this is the government's blueprint to connect industries, resources, and workers in our provinces north to the future of manufacturing in the south as we build up homegrown supply chains. If I didn't know any better, it would almost sound like you drafted that quote yourself, because that's exactly what you're delivering, right?
I may well have inspired it. That's a key message I've been delivering for a while.
It's sunk into them. But man, the Ontario government, I'm not sure what your level of communication is with them and what kind of discussion you're having, but they must be really excited about this.
Oh yeah, no, they're keen to see this. They were trying to inspire it, and pleased to see we're able to make an announcement so quickly that we're going to be going ahead.
Initial output you guys state in the press release is 20,000 tons per year. What are the economics generally like? What do you think they'll be generally like at 20,000 tons per year? And how do you see that increase? Is there a max capacity you guys have in mind as to where you want to get it to?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, with 20,000 is what we're pretty certain will be some demand here, but it's likely to grow. So you do want to be in a position to grow the business over time too. So but maybe the initial production will be a little less than the maximum capacity for that size, but we'll see as we get going. Because you have to be able to provide samples to different consumers and make sure that they're satisfied that it meets their spec requirements before they'll give you the firm commitments. Yeah, but it's definitely going to be a growth business going forward, and we'll see what it ultimately ends up being.
You can't have a conversation about Northern Ontario, and I got to assume everyone in Northern Ontario, the Thunder Bay area is starting to get a little excited about this, but you have to have, you can't have that discussion without talking about the First Nations. What is your relationship like with the First Nation at Separation Rapids?
Well, we've had a relationship there for over 20 years, actually. We first signed an MOU with them in 1999.
They know you well.
We've been in touch ever since, and they remain keen to see this eventually get started because they can see how it can create a lot of economic benefits for the community. And now I think that there's really opportunities for them to be a real business partner. That's what I'd like to inspire. And the new chief, Chief Wayland Scott, has an MBA. So perfect as a political leader to hopefully inspire getting more involved in creating an active business that can be an active business partner in the project. And we can see a role for them in helping just produce the concentrates that will go to the glass ceramic market. And our vision there in the short term is to acquire basically a demonstration scale process facility using dense media separation, a gravity type process to concentrate it, which is a preferred method for some of the end users compared to froth flotation. And we'll be able to start providing big samples to customers that have expressed interest and then scale up behind that. But having a demo scale plant is a good way for community members to get kind of the training in how to operate it and then maybe take control of it.
And they finally get to get an ROI on all the time they spent with you since 1999.
Right.
You're no longer just a pretty face of them that keeps, you keep meeting together and having discussions, but you're actually making things happen together. And all kidding aside, I think that's great. I think that's great for everybody. The other group I want to talk about is Avalon shareholders. I mean, you have had incredibly loyal long-term shareholders in Avalon, and we've seen a lot of, look, you've been there from the beginning when it comes to critical and rare elements. And when rare earths start to really take off 15 years ago or so, in terms of people understanding we're going to need them for aerospace, in our phones, all these, the whole electronic and digital world. You guys had a great run. In fact, you're on the New York Stock Exchange for a while, but then a little reality set in because the world just hasn't been ready yet, right? It's not like the world's producing millions of electric vehicles and you're not there to supply the lithium. So it took a little time, but you're here again, and this time it's for good. How great is this for Avalon shareholders? How excited should they be that the payoff now appears to be coming for them?
Well, I'm getting lots and lots of positive feedback from many longtime shareholders that have been patiently waiting for this day to arrive when we can finally get launched and moving one of our projects forward to production and cash flow. So they've been patient, you're right. And it's interesting in that lots of people could see how all of these rare elements we've been looking at did have very good potential, but it's just so difficult to predict when you're going to be able to get it started, because it's not like your traditional exchange traded commodities in that you'd already know there's demand for it even before you get started. Whereas in this case, if you don't have the demand, you cannot justify the capital investment to get it started. And unfortunately, there's never been any domestic demand in Canada for any of these traditional commodities. And we've never really done much in the way of supporting research and development and innovating some of the products that can use these things. That's all being done elsewhere. That's another thing I'm trying to inspire now here in Canada, is to start doing more of that. We've got all these rare elements in the ground. Now people can start to see so many examples of how they can be used beneficially in new technologies. Let's start innovating some too.
Something tells me you don't have to do, I mean, you had to do a lot of convincing over the last decade at plus, but something tells me, Don, that, look, one thing I've always respected about you, always, is that you start out in critical rare elements, and that's where you stuck to, despite the fact that so many different fads came in over time, and the small cap world sometimes tends to jump from fad to fad. You stuck with it. And here you are, because I've got to assume the reason I said that is I've got to assume people are listening to you in the industry, government, because you've been an evangelist for this the whole time, and now we're here. So I don't think you have to do much convincing anymore. I'm assuming people are now saying, Don, you don't need to convince us, tell us what to do. Hopefully we're almost at that stage now.
Yeah, I think so. Most people realized that there would be another day, just didn't know how long it would take. And we're frustrated, like I was, that it took so long. But over the last 3 years now, with critical minerals getting so much publicity and recognition now for how they're needed new technology, most of our shareholders knew that our time had finally come. But it was a matter of basically just having the news flow to remind people that we do have an advanced lithium project, because most people don't even know that, because we became so well known 10, 12 years ago as a rare earths equity, especially in the US.
Yeah.
And we did all the original work on our lithium project 25 years ago. Most people don't know that we have an advanced.
There's been a bit of a gap.
So yeah, we haven't really received the recognition that we deserve for how advanced our project really is. And
that's sometimes the price you pay for being early and being first, but you've known all along. And I'm assuming, Don, you tell me what you think, because people don't want to hear my opinion, but tell me if I'm on the right track or not. It just seems like this next phase is here to stay. It's going to stick. It's going to grow. It's going to be like this for the next 30 years. I mean, this is the beginning of a really big, massive run for the lithium and critical elements space, right?
Yes, I really believe that. Yeah, it's finally arrived. It took a while, but I guess my problem is I see the future too far ahead compared to most other people. So I saw the future 25 years ago.
Well, look, hey, to the benefit of all of us at the end of the day, right? To have someone now like you at the tip of the spear is great. So let me end off with this, Don. You've been envisioning this for the last 25 years. You're here now. You're establishing Ontario's first regional lithium battery material refinery, right? What are the next steps to this behemoth, right? Because this is like the famous saying is, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? So what are the next bites that we should look for out of the lithium refinery and out of Separation Rapids? I know you've kind of alluded to them a little bit, but I want to really get those down.
It's finishing off the details on the business model and doing some more work at the site to finalize our final feasibility study there, and then starting to invest in getting things started. Like I said, we've got the opportunity now to acquire a demonstration scale facility to start producing trial quantities of the petalite concentrate, and that can be used also for doing any final tweaks we want to make on the process flow sheet for making the lithium battery materials, and then get going. Plus, I also want to do more work on recovering the other byproducts that are available for recovery from these types of pegmatites like we have, There's cesium in there, there's tantalum in there, there's rubidium-rich feldspars that are also a viable product. Basically, almost everything in the rock is potentially a saleable product.
Man, you're never done. You're not taking a victory lap at the lithium. You're already starting to think about all the byproducts.
Yeah, and that's a precedent I want to be able to establish too, is how we need to change the whole thinking in the mining industry to realize that most resources have more than one mineral or element in it that has potential value, whereas in the past it almost always just one element extracted, everything else was left in waste. And now got to look at what else you can recover, and that makes it more sustainable and environmentally friendly too.
Well, there can't be a better guy and a better executive to kind of lead that charge for Ontario anyways. And I'm sure this will become an example for the rest of the world. But in the meantime, even though you're already looking at the next steps, let's celebrate this. I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate your team, even Asar and everyone who's part of this, and all Avalon shareholders, quite frankly, for this real big milestone and what I think is going to be the first of many interactions between you and I, because it seems like, now everything's going to start unfolding. But for today, congratulations, Don. I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy for you.
Well, thanks very much for the interview, and great to be back working together with you again, George. It's been a few years, but the time has come.
Well, you and I were the first to really come out and talk to the world about rare earth elements back in 2005, 6, 7, when people say, what are you guys talking about? I just know gold and silver, maybe copper. What are you guys? But we educated the world, and that turned into something great. We're a little ahead of the curve, but now we're here. And I think this is going to be the beginning of the Don and George show for the next 20 years. Thank you, Don. Have a great day, and have a beer on me tonight, because you deserve it to sit back, and sit in your kitchen there in your backyard and really enjoy this and celebrate this.
All right, I'll do that. Thanks.
To everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Don Bubar, President and CEO of Avalon Advanced Materials, trades in Canada under the stock symbol AVL. For our friends in the US, on the stock symbol AVLNF. Look, we can't tell you what to do, but if you believe in the future of electric vehicles, lithium batteries, critical elements, then you've got to do your due diligence on Avalon. Their URL is right there above in the screen. You're going to see it in the screen above. Get over to the company's website, do your deep dive due diligence. Just don't say 12 months from now we didn't tell you so. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time. Hey guys, the video's over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our YouTube channel so you never miss another great Agoracom small cap video.